saying it would have gotten closer and closer to saying, please don't send me there. But
yeah, I believe. And now this is not filled with any journalistic integrity, so you could always quote me, correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe the direct quote from Josh Rosen was, "Dear God, not the Browns, anybody but the Browns." I mean, did that happen? Was that the quote?
I believe he said, "I'd rather be drafted lower by the right team than higher by the wrong one." But we can read subtext.
Yeah, that's yeah. I feel very confident in how it is that I heard that. Dear heavens, not the Browns. Anybody but the Browns, please. If the Browns draft me, I'm playing baseball. That was the John Elway maneuver. The John Elway maneuver. If the Baltimore Colts draft me, I'm playing baseball. I'm playing with the Yankees. That's what Josh Rosen should do. So yeah, Malik Zaire would love to play with the Browns. But Malik Zaire would love to play football with anybody, and I think Malik Zaire would love to play football in Canada with the Saskatchewan Roughriders if they gave him a job. You take it. I didn't make that up, by the way. That is the actual. That's the only Canadian football team that I know. It's the only one I can tell you. So yeah, that story is out there, which I just find to be interesting. He could also go back to school, by the way, Malik Zaire, for his 6th year of NCAA eligibility. A grown man, literally playing with boys, but. Sure enough. All right. So you have that was one story. The other story is that Nick Saban said that revenge is not a factor in Alabama's matchup with Clemson, which I completely believe. Nick Saban at this point exists solely to win championships. He's so guaranteed to show up for some kind of championship game and almost guaranteed a spot in the playoff every year that Nick Saban's existence is not about rivalries. His legacy is pretty much cemented. You know, I mean, if you want to say that Bear Bryant is still the greatest football coach of all time, sure. But if Nick Saban wins another one, I mean, you've got to say it's Saban. Like, you absolutely have to. I mean, I know his dominance is kind of unparalleled entirely. So, yeah, I'm looking at Nick Saban, and when he says stuff like that, like, that's something that with Nick Saban, I absolutely believe. Like, revenge is not a factor here. He's a very focused guy, and he's focused primarily on winning titles. And I don't think that he sees Dabo Swinney as his peer necessarily. Swinney's trying to get in the club, like Kevin Durant is talking about getting in the room and LeBron James letting him in the room with the greats. Dabo Swinney's trying to get in the club, and I think he's got a little bit more to go before he fully gets in there. And he's a young guy; it'll happen. But I just bristle at the idea that anyone had to mention this or anyone had to ask Nick Saban this, because we know it's scary to ask Nick Saban stupid questions.
Yeah, I feel like thinking of Nick Saban really thinking of anyone else as like a specific adversary is like that scene in like the beginning of Mass Effect 3 where Commander Shepard is talking about the Reapers and he's like, they don't respect us and they'll never fear us. And it's like, what? He doesn't need specific motivation. He just wants to crush you, and it doesn't matter who you are.
Right, like if Nick Saban is playing you or he's playing Georgia Cumberland, like he wants to destroy you equally. It's not a matter of who you are and how many times you've beaten them. Like, that's what normal people engage in, right? Like, when you look at people who are very successful, like super successful people, like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, like, their problems are so radically different from our problems. Like, the rich people problems are different in a level. They don't even, the stuff that we struggle with isn't even, like, Bill Gates doesn't have to worry about bills, right? I think the other day, me, you, and Sam Jordan off the air, we were talking about Roger Goodell, and like Roger Goodell, this may be his last term as league commissioner, and he came to the conclusion, like, even if he winds up not being commissioner after this contract, you don't feel bad for Roger Goodell. No. Roger Goodell has so much stuff going on for him that you don't have to feel bad for Roger Goodell. Like, Roger Goodell's problems are nothing like the rest of our problems.
He got health insurance for himself and his family for the rest of their lives. And also, he didn't get a private jet. He got use of a private jet for the rest of his life. So when the private jet is not really worth flying anymore, he'll be flying the next one. He thought this through.
Yeah, no, that's See, now that's what you have. That's what an agent is for. That's a good agent. He just said, I want to be able to use a private jet whenever. I don't need to maintain it. I don't need to keep it. Whenever I would like a private jet, you will provide me one. And I don't care when I'm 77 and I want to go down to Cabo, I got a private jet. Like these are not issues that any of us ever have to reconcile in our lives because we never will, because we're never going to see the kind of money that even makes a private jet in your contract possible. You know what I mean? So, yeah, this is Nick Saban. This is Nick Saban sort of levitating above the rest of us. But he has college football problems that most coaches don't even have and wouldn't dream of having, which is, how am I going to win a title this year? If I lose one game, can I still get into the playoff for another shot at a title? Right? Like, we're not worrying about beating our rivals. We're not worried about which of the many bowl games we can wind up in. There's only one bowl game that really matters for us to be in, and that's the first round of the college football playoff.
Yep.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on All New Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com here on 92.7 FM. And yeah, that was boy, it annoys me to talk about Nick Saban. It does, because I feel like I can't do anything but praise him, and also I don't like him. So I have another story I want to move on to, because this is a story that is perplexing to me. I've been doing research on this story for the last 2 hours, and I have not found anything. I haven't gotten any leads in any particular direction. I had my brother helping me. He hasn't found anything either. And it actually sort of mirrors the story in the NFL, so I just kind of want to go that way too. So this is a story with Auburn, right? Auburn running back Kamryn Pettway not going to be playing in the Peach Bowl. He didn't travel to Atlanta for the Peach Bowl. He's not playing in the Peach Bowl. From the sounds of it, he's not injured. He doesn't seem to have any family issues. He's simply not playing in the Peach Bowl. And the only quote floating around about Kamryn Pettway and Auburn is that he's not welcome back at Auburn either. Right? Like that was the headline that I read. Kamryn Pettway, not welcome back at Auburn. Wait, how? What happened?
I don't know, but that's the only thing that like every article is in complete agreement on, that he is reportedly no longer welcome at Auburn, and that he's not expected to participate in any activities or return to the team, even though he's still officially on the roster.
That's wild. And it's only wild because there's no other explanation. None. It's not like he got arrested. It's not like he got hurt. It's, so far as anyone can tell, it's not like he had any family situation or family emergency come up. It's not like he skipped out on a practice. And what makes this even more perplexing is the reputation that Kamryn Pettway has. Kamryn Pettway is generally known to be a nice guy. Now, again, I understand that when you hear stories about how a guy's not, like, that doesn't necessarily tell you the true story of what that person is. You're never going to get 100% of what that guy is just from pure anecdotes. But since that's all we have to go on, usually when people tend to be fairly terrible or jerks, they also have the stories surrounding them about how they're actually terrible or jerks, right? Like Michael Jordan is a jerk, and there are hundreds of stories about how Michael Jordan is a jerk. Michael Jordan fought his teammates. Michael Jordan gambled with teammates and took them for like everything that they had, which is, why would you do that if you were richer than everybody else on the team? Like all of these things with Michael Jordan about how Michael Jordan's not a nice person. Like you hear these stories. I knew somebody that worked at one of Michael Jordan's restaurants in Chicago, and he was just not a nice guy to his own staff. You hear the stories, okay? No such stories about Kamryn Pettway. None whatsoever. Just generally a nice person. This is a young man who wanted to enter the draft last year, not to fulfill any dreams of playing in the NFL, not to try and make millions of dollars, but because his mom was sick and he was thinking, well, if I go to the NFL draft, even if I'm a 5th or 6th rounder, that'll give me enough money to help pay for her medical bills. Like, that's the kind of guy that we're talking about. This is the kind of guy who is now all of a sudden, with no explanation offered whatsoever, because Gus Malzahn refused to answer any real questions about it, he's no longer welcome back at Auburn. And what I want to know is, what do you have to do to find yourself in a situation where you're generally known as a decent person, you're not welcome back at school anymore? Like, who did you smack? I don't know. And the reason why this story interests me is because it happens on the same day, or the day after the Patriots signed James Harrison after the Steelers release him. And your first thought when you hear that story is, well, That's a silly thing to do. Like, why would the Steelers release James Harrison, apart from the fact that James Harrison still has quality football left in him? Why would they release James Harrison? He's a Steelers legend. He's got a legacy in that city. I mean, for a large portion of the time, him and Troy Polamalu were the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And they just released him right before they're going to go try and make a playoff run. Why? And it seemed to be that the Steelers didn't want him anymore. But a lot of the players have come out and said that that's not fair. They don't like that. That they believe that that's being blown out of proportion. And that, in fact, they didn't want James Harrison gone. James Harrison wanted to be gone and got himself released and made it seem like the team released. And I'm trying to figure out again, what did you have to do to have your whole locker room turn on you like this?
I have no idea. Like, I guess sort of leading the charge on this, or at least being the most vocal, is Steelers center Maurkice Pouncey, who has said that by going to New England, James Harrison has erased his whole legacy in Pittsburgh, and that he wanted to leave, and that the whole locker room knew that he wanted to leave, and that he doesn't like the fact that James Harrison didn't admit that and made it seem like they just released him all of a sudden. And sounds from quotes that he's about over James Harrison now. It's all gone.
Which okay, that's crazy. I'm sorry. You cannot erase someone's legacy by simply saying so. I mean, you may want to, and we get into this all the time with the NCAA, by the way, when they invalidate games. You know, when Joe Paterno had that whole situation at Penn State blew up, and they took away all of Joe Paterno's wins. I'm sorry, that's not how you handle that situation. I believe they gave him back the victories too, because it doesn't make any sense. You can't say that all 900 or however many of those wins that he had, they're gone now. They didn't happen. We all saw them. We all saw them happen with our own two eyes. We saw James Harrison as a Pittsburgh Steeler. You cannot simply, with one wave of the wand, erase the legacy of James Harrison, even though I'm pretty sure that sports talk radio in Pittsburgh, you're going to have a bunch of fans saying things like that. Fans are burning jerseys in the streets, of course, because that's what silly fans do. You just burn jerseys. You paid money for the jersey, but now you're going to burn the jersey. I don't know. You just donate to a Goodwill or something. What do you... Really?
There's got to be like something here, though, especially considering that like Maurkice Pouncey would put basically his name on this whole thing and put himself out there to this extent in like this environment where people really don't seem to like the guy who goes out and says something against his teammate. But like, there's photos of Maurkice Pouncey and James Harrison together on the Steelers like 7 years ago. They go back a long way.
Well, that's a good point too. As again, when your locker room turns on you like this, what on earth did you say and or do? And we're talking about a situation where Antonio Brown last year Facebook Live the team meeting after the game, and yeah, his teammates didn't like that. Everybody had a problem with it, but they all more or less stood behind him afterwards. That's a very tight-knit locker room. And for them to turn on you like that, like, what did you do? What on earth did you do? And back to Kamryn Pettway. What did he do? Like, I'm just curious, because there just seems to be a certain level of disclosure we don't have. And this is something that, like, we're just going to find out the stories after the fact because, you know, I feel like I'm a vaguely decently connected person. I do not have sources inside of the Steelers locker room. And actually, if we want to connect this back to yesterday with the story where Landon Collins called Eli Apple a cancer, with like, what did he say and do? What, you guys play on the same defense? What? Because I'm trying to figure it out. Like, and I've always, by the way, believed and subscribed to the Jalen Rose theory that anytime teammates have a falling out, like by and large, some kind of girlfriend or wife stealing is involved, or cards are involved. Like those are the two big ones, especially like on NBA teams. Like the cards or relationship stuff where people just get tangled up and it's not good. Like that's usually the two big things here. The issue here just seems to be like James Harrison just flat out didn't want to be there. And I don't know how he managed to go about expressing that in such a way that everyone in the locker room managed to hate him.
This is speculation, but I feel like there's got to be something more to this than just him saying that he didn't want to play there, because like I haven't heard him say that he didn't want to play there, but everyone has heard earlier this season Martavius Bryant saying that he wanted them to trade him or something because he didn't like that he wasn't being played that much. And now with like an injured Antonio Brown, who they expect will be back in the postseason, but like at the moment he's not playing. Like Martavius Bryant is out there performing, and it's like it's all in the rearview mirror for him.
Well, that's the thing. He asked to leave. He straight up asked for a trade. And so apparently, it would seem that the problem isn't asking to leave. The problem isn't even wanting not to be there. The problem is how he went about not wanting to be there. That he simply didn't, he wasn't quote unquote straight up with it. But to me, that doesn't even make sense, because like you would have to tell somebody. If you didn't want to be there, you'd have to tell somebody. It's not like he just sat there pouting until someone asked him, "Hey, James, what's wrong?" "I don't want to be here." No, he told somebody he didn't want to be there anymore. So how is he being underhanded? Like, there's not enough here. There's not enough here. But I'm one of those when there's smoke, there's fire kind of guys, and I want to know what the fire is, because there's tons of smoke. Where's the fire? Where is it? Because I'm looking at it and I go, this guy's been on this team. He's been on a few teams, but he's been on this team longer than any other team he's been on. This is the team that made his name. That you don't just want out of that situation, just out of the blue. Like with Martavius Bryant's a young guy. This is contract 1. I mean, I don't get it, but he's young enough to where that might be a thing. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever for James Harrison. None. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on all new Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com on 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
A house fire broke out in Hickson. It took about 20 minutes to put it out. It started at 8:45 p.m. when firefighters say that there was smoke pouring out of the roof of that building. The fire broke out on 780 Monroe Road. Fire damage estimated to cost about $30,000. A meeting has been announced between the Signal Mountain Town Council and the Hamilton County School Board. It'll be held on January the 4th at one of the schools on Signal Mountain, according to Mayor Chris Howley. He says the session will be to lay out our ideas. The next Town Council meeting is expected Monday, January the 8th, 4 days after this meeting between the Town Council and the School Board. The Signal Mountain School Viability Committee has been working for about a year to find out whether or not Signal Mountain can split off from the Hamilton County school system, which is something that the mayor has been looking at doing for about 2 years now. The Sean Hannity Show, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 now.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Sam Jordan, News Talk 92.7 Sports Now. Independence Bowl, New Era Pinstripe Bowl, the Foster Farms Bowl, and the Texas Bowl will be the bowl games that will be on tap for this Wednesday. And after last night's bowl games, the Heart of Dallas Bowl, Utah defeated West Virginia University 30-14. The Quick Lane Bowl had Duke winning that over Northern Illinois 36-14, and Kansas State winning over UCLA 35-17 in the Cactus Bowl. The application period for the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency 2017 Spring Turkey Quota Hunts is underway through January 17th of this coming year. Applications are available and will be accepted at any TWRA licensed agent, TWRA regional office, or online at the TWRA website. Applications can be accepted until midnight on January 17th. Mailed applications will not be accepted. Tune in tonight for Sports Talk with Sam Jordan from 6 to 7 p.m. and The Clutch with Keon Rose from 7 to 8. Sam Jordan, News Talk 92.7 Sports Now.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Oh, man. Rush. I've got to get stuff for the party. Where can I go that's going to give me a wide selection of beer, wines, and spirits? Oh, I've got it. I'll go to Harry's Wine and Spirits, Signal Mountain. Maybe East Brainerd Wine and Spirits in East Brainerd. I could go to Riley's Wines and Spirits in Hickson. Wow, look at the huge selection in here. Look at these great prices. Amazing. Oh, yeah. I'm going to find something for my lady, too. I'm going to make this party a success.
Make your party a success when you stop in at Harry's Wine and Spirits in Signal Mountain, East Brainerd Wine and Spirits in East Brainerd, and Riley's Wine and Spirits in Hickson. An automated nuclear missile defense system has suddenly entered into launch mode, and you are the only one who can stop it. Escape Experience Chattanooga. Your team has just been infected with a deadly virus. Your only hope? There, in an abandoned farmhouse. Escape Experience Chattanooga. Handcuffed in a maximum security prison, you have an hour to flee. Escape Experience Chattanooga. These escape scenarios and more at Chattanooga's best escape room game and team building platform. Call now. Slots are limited. Register online at escapeexperience.com/Chattanooga. Escape Experience Chattanooga. If your computer is running slow, if you have viruses, if someone called you asking to get into your computer, just say no. If a screen pops up on your computer saying your data is going to be deleted and you have to call this number, don't call it. You need to call Affordable Computers. You wouldn't invite a stranger to come into your house to look at all your books and records, so why would you invite someone to look at your records on your computer? With one wrong click of the mouse, you could be allowing access into your entire system. At Affordable Computers, we can stop them now. Don't be fooled by scammers and pop-ups that tell you must call this number or your hard drive is going to be deleted. You need to call Affordable Computers. Call Affordable Computers now. Microsoft is never going to call you. Microsoft is never going to ask you to call them. If you see that on your screen, you are being scammed. Stop and call Affordable Computers. 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975. In Fort Oglethorpe, call 706-858-5888. That's 706-858-5888. Affordable Computers.
Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News, NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on all new Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com on 92.7 FM. So Tiger Woods has a tradition that he does every year. And I would love someone to tell me if this is not the most cringeworthy tradition of all time. But Tiger Woods has this thing where he dresses up as Santa Claus, but not normal Santa Claus. No, he dyes his beard gray. He wears a Christmas hat, then a ball cap over the Christmas cap, and for some reason is standing around shirtless. And he calls himself Mac Daddy Santa. He wears glasses. He tries to look cool. He fails miserably. And he claims it's a tradition that his kids love. I don't know for how much longer the kids are going to love that tradition when they get that self-realization and they realize that this is fundamentally embarrassing and that their dad is taking the pictures of himself and putting them all over social media. But this is Tiger Woods. The picture is posted on Instagram. And this is the reason why when your parents show up on social media, you run for the hills. This is why this happens. This is 100% why this happens. Yesterday we were talking about James Harrison and Tom Brady taking a selfie together now that they're teammates and it looking like the most old man social media picture of all time. And Tiger Woods just topped it immediately, instantly. He dyed his goatee. The goatee is gray. And Kate, you had a point there about the goatee that off the air.
Yeah, like very tragically. First of all, I just want to say that if what he's saying is true and his kids really do love this tradition,
You're not for long.
Yeah, you may as well do it now because it's not going to be a thing forever or for much longer, probably. But looking at him with his facial hair, his whole beard and goatee situation dyed a grayish white, if you told me that was how his hair looked and that he was actually just old enough that that was what his hair was like now, I would have completely believed you.
See, that's the issue. The issue is that Tiger Woods now looks old enough that the gray hair actually doesn't look out of place. That's a problem. That's as problematic in the worst ways. It no longer looks out of place for him to have the gray hair on him. This is an issue. Tiger Woods looks old. He looks so old.
Also, he can only, just based on this picture where he is topless, he can only become more and more dad bod as the years go on.
Yeah. I can't. Boy, it hurts to look at. So anyway, that's something that happened. So there was a person on Reddit. Want to give credit to where credit is due. Do not steal my topic ideas. There was a person on Reddit that believes that Hugh Jackson ought to be coach of the year. He ought to be coach of the year. Hugh Jackson, who is currently coaching the winless Cleveland Browns, and the Browns are about to play the Steelers next week, and the Steelers need to win to guarantee their number 2 spot and guarantee that first round bye that they want so bad because the quarterback is old, and they're a defensive team, sort of. And so they're going to play the Browns seriously, and they're going to beat the holy hell out of the Browns because that's what you need to do. And it's going to be very easy to do because the Browns are bad. And even when the Browns have a situation where they can win, they still lose 20-3 because they shoot themselves in the foot, fumble the football, make horrible penalties, and throw horrible interceptions at all the wrong times. This is the Browns team that we know in 2017. And it's not all that different from the Browns team that we knew in 2016. They won exactly one game. That was the Robert Griffin III game. So I really don't know why they didn't keep him. I feel like you could accidentally win a couple with him. Deshaun Kaiser and how super rough he is, I would not have gone that particular direction. But that's neither here nor there. The issue here with the Browns is that Hugh Jackson, if they lose on Sunday, and I do suspect they will lose on Sunday, will have won one single game in 2 years. And at that point, from just the standpoint of being a straight-up magician, you have to give him coach of the year just based on that. I understand what Sean McVay has been able to do with the Los Angeles Rams. I understand what Mike Zimmer has been able to do with that defense up there in Minnesota. I understand that Doug Marrone has managed to navigate having Blake Bortles as his quarterback. I get all of these things. But Hugh Jackson is a man that has won one football game in 2 years, and he may be back for a third. And I don't think that that's anything we're going to see again.
No, it can't be. You can't make the conversation of being this close to having an 0-16 season, saving yourself by this much at the very last week on a blocked field goal at the very end of a game, and then do the whole thing over again, this time with, there's almost no chance that they're going to beat the Steelers because they want to secure the number 2 seed. If the Patriots slip up, they can take the number 1 seed. They want the first round bye. Their whole team, some of their most talented players are old, and Antonio Brown would love some more time to rest off his injury. They're going to destroy them.
This is one of those situations where, look, if the Browns upset the Steelers, that is the miracle of all miracles, and at that point, you should probably still give Hugh Jackson the Coach of the Year award. I'm just saying, but for being able to speak yourself into a third season after winning one game in 2 years, look, man, props to you. I don't know how you did it. I don't know what magic words you used. I don't know if you could quit your job and teach a class on negotiations. Whatever it is that you have to do to spread the secret of how it is that you've managed to con your boss into giving you another year. And I like Hugh Jackson. I think Hugh Jackson's a very good coach. But I also think that it's easy to lose your mooring as head coach of the Browns. That you don't know what works and doesn't work because you're so often rewarded, or you're so often punished for things that ought to work on a normal football team, but does not work on this one. because you don't have the talent. The talent is not there. You've got to blame on the general manager, and you've got to blame on everybody involved. Now, to me, we knew the Browns were going to stink like this for a while, and I thought that the Browns were going to do that whole Philadelphia 76ers, trust the process, we're just going to rack up the picks, and then one day we're just going to just go crazy on 2 or 3 drafts in a row. Because if you know, I don't know if you know this, but the Browns in the next 2 drafts, in the first round alone, hold 8 of the next 2 first rounds worth of draft picks, and could have more if they trade around properly. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. The Browns have a few drafts in one draft, right? They've got. I believe they have 2 or 3 first rounders. They have 2 second rounders. They have 2 third rounders. They have 2 fourth rounders, and that's just next year. So that's a team. They're primed for more picks, and they're primed to try and build this team slowly. But everybody knew it was going to be slow. I don't know how you go around blaming Hugh Jackson for that necessarily, but we are a results-based league, and if you're going to go just based purely off of results, there isn't a coach that I have ever seen that has had a team look worse and still have the contention, have the possibility of keeping his job.
Yeah, in this very what have you done for me lately sort of world that we live in, like, I don't know what the equivalent performance to this would be in any other kind of job, but I don't think you can name one where a performance equivalent to this doesn't get you fired. Even like fast food, you will be on the street so fast.
Right. Like if you worked, I never really worked in fast food like that. I worked at Domino's, which is technically fast food, but it works a little bit differently than the other places. But if I've worked in retail and I've worked all kinds of jobs. If there was a job where once every 2 years you had a good performance, you wouldn't work there anymore. And it wouldn't be your choice. It'd be theirs. They would remove you. Like you might never get hired again. That's how bad it would be. I don't know what you do here for Hugh Jackson. Right? Like, Hugh Jackson has been a guy he's been in a couple of bad situations. I remember that he was also in Oakland with the Raiders. He had exactly 1 year with the Raiders. They were terrible. And then he got removed from his job. I mean, there's nothing you could accomplish in 1 year with a bad team. And most rebuilds take 5 years, right? But the issue is with most rebuilds, you see the signs of growth.
Yeah.
And you're going from 1-15 to possibly 0-16. There's no growth there. There's absolutely none. So yeah, Hugh Jackson would have to be coach of the year if he could somehow convince Jimmy Haslam to give him a 3rd year, because that's a magic trick. That is a complete magic trick, if ever I have seen one. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, and NoogaRadio.com. So the last thing I want to talk about so far as the NFL is concerned is the fact that we actually have a bunch of new faces in the NFL playoffs. And that does affect a lot of things because experience plays a gigantic part of this. And I mentioned yesterday, I don't think experience is something that necessarily means you're going to win. You don't just win because you're experienced. You win because you're better. But if 2 teams are equal, if 2 teams are pretty close, then yeah, you tend to win in large part because the experience is there, and you've got a lot of young quarterbacks and a lot of guys who've never been in the playoffs before. You've got Jared Goff in the playoffs. You've got Nick Foles in the playoffs. Should have been Carson Wentz, but it's Nick Foles in the playoffs for the Eagles. You've got Case Keenum at quarterback in the playoffs, and he's never been there before. You've got Blake Bortles, who we never dreamed would be there. You have possibly Marcus Mariota. If the Titans handle business on Sunday against Jacksonville, they have a chance to be in the playoffs. You have possibly Marcus Mariota in the playoffs. You know, Todd Gurley. You've got a bunch of these new faces in the playoffs. And how you handle pressure and how you handle being here for the first time, this is something that's going to play a gigantic factor in how it is that you play. Now, again, as I mentioned before, the lack of experience is not necessarily a problem. When you talk about the Seahawks, for instance, Russell Wilson winning a Super Bowl as a rookie. He comes in and he didn't have experience. And a lot of those defensive guys really young. Richard Sherman at the time didn't have experience. They got over the top that year, but they were just so good. And that's the reason why I actually believe the Jacksonville Jaguars have a real good chance to make a run here. It will rely on Blake Bortles not necessarily dealing them the killing blow, which that's a very big if, and I get that. I do. But when you don't have experience, defense matters. Defense is more reactive than proactive. And so just having a bunch of guys who rely on their instincts, are able to react, they're very talented, they play with great technique, that's a lot easier to rely on than someone who's going to have to think, who's going to have to outwit you, who's going to have to be clever. And it's a lot to ask of Jared Goff, who's never been here before, and who's a second-year quarterback, and who, as a rookie quarterback, we thought he was dunzo in the league, okay? Because I was a guy that I liked Jared Goff coming into the draft, and I turned on Jared Goff so fast when I saw him play. Now, little did I know, I didn't know to blame Jeff Fisher for all these problems. I do now. That's why I'm blaming Mike Mularkey. But I do think that a lot of these guys who are playing on the offensive side of the ball have a whole lot more to lose in terms of lack of experience than the guys on the defensive side of the ball. What are your thoughts on this? Because I think that experience plays a gigantic part, but only when the teams are more or less even, and you've got a lot of experienced teams in here too. You've got the Saints with Drew Brees, you've got the Panthers with Cam, you've got a bunch of teams, you got the Patriots and Tom Brady always in the playoffs. So you've got a bunch of teams that are also experienced and very well versed in all of this too. Which side do you fall on this? Did you fall on the experience side?
Yeah, I would say experience plays like a pretty big role, just because like if there's a large talent gap, that's one thing, and then the team that's more talented is just going to win. Like when last year the Falcons, who hadn't really been like that far in the playoffs previously in the NFC Championship, came up against and then immediately rolled over the Packers, because even though they're a more experienced team for sure, like they just, other than Aaron Rodgers, don't have that much on offense and defense, and the Falcons did. And so they were able to beat them pretty handily by the end of the game. But in this year's NFC, and I'd say also AFC, like the teams are, at least at the top level, pretty evenly matched to the point where like there's going to be a lot of close moments, and like one like really good play or one mistake could decide it. And I'd say the teams that have the most experience tend not to be seen as making a mistake that could cost them when it really comes down to it, which I think is probably what the Patriots are most known for.
Yeah, being disciplined at the end of games and not falling apart, which we take for granted when we watch them. But how many times have you just seen teams wither away at the end of games? I mean, I don't think that the entire city of Atlanta needs to be reminded that we saw this happen. And all the Falcons fans in this area need to be reminded that we once saw this happen. But we've seen teams just absolutely, when the pressure starts to mount, just make absolutely terrible decisions. And I mean, not just terrible decisions at one level, terrible decisions at just about every single level. Your coaching decision's bad. And then you've got player decisions that are bad. Then you've got all of these decisions. For instance, and go back to that Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan's decision to not run the football when you have a giant lead in a game, that's a bad decision. That's a series of bad decisions. You just keep calling pass plays when you have the lead, and you really just need to be burning clock. Even if you're not super successful, you just need to keep burning clock. And then Matt Ryan doesn't check out of the pass play. Now, he said that Kyle Shanahan took too long to call the plays, which to me doesn't refute my point at all. But he took too long to call the play, so you couldn't check out of it into a run because you just had to run it. And so they would run the play, and it was a pass play, and then Matt Ryan held onto the ball too long. And then he got hit. He fumbled it. And I don't believe the Patriots recovered, but I think it knocked them out of field goal range.
Yeah.
And when you consider that it took everything that the Patriots had just to tie that ball game up, a field goal keeps the distance. A field goal keeps the distance and probably wins you that Super Bowl. So I just question the decision making at all the levels, all the way down. experience plays a huge part in that, especially when it comes to these coaches. And I promise you, the experience of losing is something that the Falcons are never ever going to forget. If they do manage to make it into the playoffs, now I don't know how much they have in terms of being able to make a run, but to me, they have the capability. I think that the team most likely to make a run, in my opinion, would be Jacksonville, just because of that defense. Like, we've seen smothering defense. Now, again, make a run, what does that entail? Because I don't think that it means to make a Super Bowl run. I just find it very hard to believe that you can win a Super Bowl with Blake Bortles at the helm. We've seen that he can still show up as bad Blake and absolutely ruin you. We saw that with the 49ers. We saw that last week.
I definitely believe that the Jaguars and their defense can probably beat, because they're right now the number 3 seed, and I think they're safe there. I think they can beat like whoever appears as the 6th seed in the wild card, and then like it'll be close for sure if they have to face either Pittsburgh or New England. But like, I think they've shown that they have what it takes to be like really considered in either of those games. They've beaten Pittsburgh before this season. So
this is true, and that's the thing. But okay, so another thing, real quick, because I want to say another team I think can make a run is your Baltimore Ravens. Because I believe that Joe Flacco is new Eli Manning, which is to say that he's very up and down. Sometimes he's great, sometimes he's not great, but he always gives you a chance. He's good enough to get the job done. And there's just something about getting that guy to the postseason. He becomes a different guy in the postseason. I mean, you look at Joe Flacco's numbers, postseason versus regular season, it's not even the same guy, right? And I imagine when you gave him that massive contract, you give him the contract because of the postseason numbers, not the regular season numbers. Now, since you paid him, you haven't been back since. But now that you're there, like for me, I think that there is a switch that can be flipped here. And I am actually thinking that if you are in the AFC, you are at least a little bit worried about the Ravens, because they can put up points. And since November, they've been one of the better offensive teams in the entire league.
Yes. And as a Ravens fan, I refuse to like truly, completely buy into it, lest I be let down and have so much further to fall as a result. But definitely in like, I believe the last maybe either 5 or maybe just 4 games, like Joe Flacco has gone to like 7 touchdowns and 1 interception, as opposed to a very mediocre first half of the season where more interceptions were thrown than touchdowns. But the whole offense has been performing very much better, both running and passing, even against teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And like there is no evidence to show that they won't be able to do that strange playoff thing that they always do. Even like we made it to the postseason since the Super Bowl once in 2014, and we lost to the Patriots. But it was a surprisingly close game that I haven't seen Joe Flacco fail us in the postseason.
That's my point on that one. I've seen it too many times. You've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose here on All New Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com on 92.7 FM. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch. Texas Bowl at 9 o'clock. Hook 'em horns.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
A meeting has been announced between the Signal Mountain Town Council and the Hamilton County School Board. It'll be held on January the 4th at one of the schools on Signal Mountain, according to Mayor Chris Howley. He says the session will be to lay out our ideas. The next town council meeting is expected Monday, January the 8th, 4 days after this meeting between the town council and the school board. The Signal Mountain School Viability Committee has been working for about a year to find out whether or not Signal Mountain can split off from the Hamilton County school system, which is something that the mayor has been looking at doing for about 2 years now. A house fire broke out in Hickson. It took about 20 minutes to put it out. It started at 8:45 p.m. when firefighters say that there was smoke pouring out of the roof of that building. The fire broke out on 780 Monroe Road. Fire damage estimated to cost about $30,000. The Sean Hannity Show, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 now.
Expect fair skies to continue through your nighttime. Quite cold overnight, lows 20 to 23. For Thursday, some sunshine, but highs will struggle to reach the lower 40s. Back into the 20s tomorrow night. Into the 40s again Friday, turning even colder for the second half of the New Year's weekend. Experience the magic of the holidays with Rock City's Enchanted Garden of Lights. Create your one-of-a-kind adventure with dazzling views and almost a million colorful lights. Visit Sea Rock City for all of the magical details. And I'm Sourcine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
Not making the money you deserve? Bored? Need an exciting change? If you have radio sales experience, contact me about joining our terrific team here at 92.7 Nooga Radio. We are a hot get-up-and-go multimedia platform. Creative people, aggressive ideas. On our team, you'll have a wide-open marketplace of all the best accounts. I'm David. Call me at 401-0211. That's 401-0211. Great commissions, excellent prospects, 401-0211.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Sonia with the Mountain Oaks Weddings, Events, and Tea Room in Ooltewah, located in the former James County Courthouse. Go back in style when you're planning your next event. Mountain Oaks is a full-service wedding venue and catering facility. No fuss, no mess, no cleanup when you schedule your next special event with Mountain Oaks. Leave the planning and the work to the experts, but take all the credit for your wonderful event. Call me, Sonia, at Mountain Oaks today at 423-238-9333 and leave the work to us.
423-238-9333 or stop by our location on Church Street in Ooltewah.
The perfect present for the perfect someone. No one can do it better than us at Goss Company Jewelers. If she's really important to you, if this gift is important to you, get on your feet and get in the store. I'll take care of you.
Goss Company Jewelers on Gun Barrel Road behind Chili's.
Pulse Centers of Chattanooga offers non-medical solutions to your body's problems using a state-of-the-art technology called pulsed electromagnetic fields, PEMF for short. We help fuel the body's natural healing response. If you're tired of taking harmful, addictive drugs that only dull your pain and cause awful side effects, the knowledgeable, friendly staff at Pulse Centers can help you end that cycle.
Call to schedule a free whole body assessment at 423-771-7755. That's 423-771-7755.
Looking for an easy way to give back this holiday season? The Chattanooga Ronald McDonald House has a need. They offer a hospitality cart that gives out refreshments to tired parents at Children's Hospital at Erlanger. It's very low on snacks like peanut butter crackers and snack cakes. If you're able to donate, please bring all donations to the Ronald McDonald House at 200 Central Avenue any day of the week between 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. For more info, visit rmhchattanooga.com.
95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM. Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nooga Radio.
WBLZ HD4 Ooltewah, W224AZ Chattanooga,
92.7 digital FM 95.3 HD4 Chattanooga.
CBS News on the hour.
I'm Sam Litzinger. You can find Erie, Pennsylvania on a map. Finding it in person may be more challenging. It's buried under more than 5 feet of lake-effect snow with maybe another 10 inches by tomorrow night.
We haven't had a winter like this since we were little kids, and it just feels good to be playing out here again. We haven't even got to our backyard yet. You should see it back there.
Yeah, it's untouched. So.
Was it crazy?
That's going to be fun. Yeah.
The winter blast in Erie was caused by cold Arctic air moving over the lake. WCBS meteorologist Craig Allen says big sections of the United States are gripped by freezing weather.
This is a cold outbreak straight down from the Arctic. This is the polar vortex that we had mentioned many seasons ago, and it is basically turning the Northeast into a very, very cold regime with well below normal temperatures.
An area stretching from Montana to Maine is expected to see temperatures below 10 degrees overnight. The city of Las Vegas, site of the country's deadliest mass shooting, is getting federal help to make sure its New Year's Eve celebration safe and secure. Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo says special sniper teams will be keeping watch on the crowds.
But this year,
Along with those spotters, they will be accompanied by snipers, individuals in possession of rifles to ensure safety if a threat is recognized.
Police have to be concerned about possible attacks from above because that's where the shooter in Las Vegas opened fire from a hotel. Thousands of police officers in Puerto Rico are calling in sick to demand millions of dollars owed in overtime pay for hurricane recovery efforts as concerns grow over people's safety on an island still struggling to restore power. Recently, more than 2,700 officers on average have been absent daily compared to a typical average of 550. The Syrian government is allowing nearly 30 critically ill people to be evacuated from the besieged Damascus suburb of Ghouta. Ahmad Tarakci with the Syrian American Medical Society says it's a start.
It's a good day for some of the patients. Maybe right now they have hope that they can be treated. Unfortunately, there are hundreds of patients in urgent need of medical treatment and evacuation. Unfortunately, they are waiting for the unknown.
The dominant rebel faction in eastern Ghouta says it's agreed to free some prisoners in return for the evacuations. A senior Muslim cleric is denouncing a plan for a railway tunnel under Jerusalem's Old City. It would end at the Western Wall with a station named after President Trump, who's been hailed in Israel for his decision to recognize Jerusalem as the country's capital. Israel's transportation minister is pushing ahead with plans for the tunnel, which would pass near sites holy to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. The Muslim cleric says naming the station after Mr. Trump won't give it any legitimacy. On Wall Street, the Dow gained 28 points. The NASDAQ gained 3. This is CBS News.
Honesty, integrity, experience. From the people you know and trust. CBS News. Original reporting.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
WBBM reporter Pat Cassidy says Cook County, Illinois is filing suit against some big drug companies because of the opioid epidemic.
A complaint by Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle and State's Attorney Kim Fox seeks millions of dollars in damages for costs related to what they say is the unlawful marketing causing the opioid crisis facing Cook County residents. The suit says opioid deaths exceed gunshot and vehicle deaths and have grown at least 70% since 2015. Named in the suit are Abbott Labs, Johnson & Johnson, Purdue Pharma, and other companies. A similar suit was filed last week by Lake, Kane, DuPage, McHenry, and Will counties.
Probably not the best place to try something like this. Police in Connecticut say Nicole Hunter was being held at the station, charged with, among other things, narcotics possession when she allegedly pulled cocaine wrapped in paper from inside her clothes and tried to snort it. She is now facing new charges. Sam Litzinger, CBS News.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A meeting has been announced between the Signal Mountain Town Council and the Hamilton County School Board. It'll be held on January the 4th at one of the schools on Signal Mountain, according to Mayor Chris Howley. He says the session will be to lay out our ideas. The next Town Council meeting is expected Monday, January the 8th, 4 days after this meeting between the Town Council and the School Board. The Signal Mountain School Viability Committee has been working for about a year to find out whether or not Signal Mountain can split off from the Hamilton County school system, which is something that the mayor has been looking at doing for about 2 years now. A house fire broke out in Hickson. It took about 20 minutes to put it out. It started at 8:45 p.m. when firefighters say that there was smoke pouring out of the roof of that building. The fire broke out on 780 Monroe Road. Fire damage estimated to cost about $30,000. The Sean Hannity Show, weekdays 3 to 6. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News Talk 92.7 now.
Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at Noogaradio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
It's Alex Jones. Owen Schroyer here, filling in for Alex. We're going to take some of your calls in the next hour. Roger Stone hosting the fourth hour. But did you know there were actually planned terror attacks over Christmas that got foiled? That's right. Here's our own Leanne McAdoo breaking it down.
There's new information coming out on the would-be domestic terrorist Everett Aaron Jameson. He had planned to carry out a Christmas Day attack at Pier 39 in San Francisco. He was arrested by the authorities after he told the FBI of his plan to carry out this atrocity. He said it would be perfect. The pier would be packed with people. So he's obviously mentally ill, but this guy is a former U.S. Marine who converted to Islam 2 years ago. And Paul Joseph Watson is now reporting that he was also an anti-Trump Antifa supporter. He was recently liking a lot of different Antifa groups on Facebook. Berkeley Antifa, Antifa California, Sacramento. And he was also liking a number of other far left pages, including Trump